So throughout this book, Charles Haanel has been elaborating on these natural laws. And why are these natural laws so important to us? Because they govern our universe. And we are manifestations within this universe. So the key to our happiness, to reaching our goals, to becoming our fullest version of ourselves is to understand and cooperate, work with these natural laws. All forms of life in this universe are able to take advantage of these natural laws. Everything that comes our way is for our growth and our spiritual development. Every order of life can take advantage of this. And the example that he uses in this chapter is an example of parasites, simple parasites. If you ever had a flower or a plant in your house and it dies or it's dying, it's getting dry, you've seen that maybe there's like these little bugs on there, on these plants, but once the plant starts dying and it's not as healthy as it was before, what happens to these insects? Well, these insects that were just crawling around now all of a sudden have wings, and they are flying around and they're trying to go somewhere else to another healthier plant to get food so that they can survive. And this is an example with the smallest, tiniest insect that under certain conditions, when there's no more food left, there's no more source of life for this living being to survive, this tiny little bug is able to grow wings. And that is an example of natural laws that can work in our favor. So just like these little bugs, we are on our journey and we are on our path for our fullest evolution. And when we look at these insects, we can understand that things can change dramatically. Things are working in our favor, even when they don't seem like it, but it is up to us to grow and rise above these conditions. So how do we manifest anything in this world? It is done through the law of attraction. And how does the law of attraction secure things to bring about them in our life? Through the law of love, which the universe is based upon. The law of love gives our thoughts vitality, the energy, the emotion that it needs to come to fruition. Once our thoughts have been impregnated with love, they get the vitality. The law of attraction then uses the law of growth to bring things into our life. By simple mathematics, we can understand that if we want desirable conditions, that we need to think desirable thoughts only. And if we want, and if we are getting undesirable conditions and problems, then we are thinking thoughts of lack, of poverty, of fear, of discord, of any kind, that we are talking about those things, that they are in our awareness, that our mental photography of undesirable conditions is in our mind. And because it's in our mind and our conscious mind, it gets photographed to our subconscious mind if it's been there either long enough or if it's been there with enough intensity, invoked with emotion, either of fear, of jealousy, of rage, anger. It will get photographed into the subconscious mind and bring those conditions about. Through problems and challenges, we can realize that we are not giving up what we no longer need, or that we are refusing to accept what is for our growth. By giving up the old for the new, or the good for the better, is one way to move forward, to gain wisdom, to gain power, and move forward along our journey. So throughout this book, we know that we are initiating causes in this world with our thoughts. And in this chapter, we come to understand that the first formation of a thought is a word or a sound. And words are important because they are the first manifestation of any thought. So any action that is happening in this world has been preceded by a thought. And any action that we are doing, anything that is happening out there, is just a matter of an expression of a thought in physical form. So since actions are preceded by words and sentences and language is preceded by our thoughts, we can understand and that we are initiating with thoughts, and that words and sentences that we are using are vitally important. And Hanel actually goes as far to say that building words and sentences is the highest form of architecture in our civilization. And that these words and sentences that we are building need to be based upon principle. And once they are built upon principle, then that is the foundation, a rock solid foundation that we have to build higher, further, stronger for the ideal life, situation, circumstances that we are creating. There is a principle of light, but not a principle of darkness. There's a principle of abundance, but none of poverty. So if we are thinking thoughts along certain lines, we are going to get what we are thinking about, but we want to make sure that we are thinking upon principle to give it vitality, to give it strength. And for an example is that in a dark room, the room may be dark, but we want to light it up. And that doesn't mean that we are going to go into that room and take a shovel or a fan and get rid of the darkness. So if we have certain conditions in our life or thoughts that we are thinking about that are based upon discord, that are harmful, that are critical, that are just not good for us, we do not need to go in there, loosen the screws of our mind, and eradicate these thoughts. Once we accept that we are thinking these thoughts, we hop on a better train and we turn on the light. And this is the value of building with principle, is that when we turn on the light, we think a thought of light, that we think a thought of health. It automatically, just like how a dark room will get lit up when you turn on the light, the same is true with our thoughts and our mind, is that when we replace inharmonious thoughts, that does the trick in eliminating those lower vibratory thoughts. Since we know what we think about is what we bring about, we are going to substitute lower thoughts of discord, of inharmony, of separation, of things that are not in accordance with who we are and what we are becoming. And we substitute them with thoughts of principle, with vitality, with strength and foundation behind them. When we think these thoughts and we think along a certain line of principle, we are sure to bring about those causes. Those thoughts have vitality, infinitely more energy. And the law of compensation says that even though that we have problems and thoughts of discord that are unappealing to us, that when we switch over to higher thoughts, to higher principles, that the law of compensation says that once energy is given somewhere in a certain amount, it is taken away from somewhere else of an equal value. So just by leaving certain thoughts behind and thinking thoughts of what we want, we are automatically getting rid of our problems and bringing about much better circumstances. In our practical step that we have been following throughout the Master Key System, we are going to focus on insight. And having insight can help us guide ourselves through the path. It can help us make predictions, just like how we have talked about in this chapter about thoughts with principle and vitality. We can predict where we are going to go mathematically. We can understand if what we're doing now, what we're going to bring about, what we are thinking now is what we're going to bring about. So during our practice session, we are focusing all that insight encompasses, and we're going to focus and have insight as to knowledge about knowledge doesn't apply itself. It has to be implemented. It has to be practiced. So anything that we learn, we are not automatically going to have that effect take place. We need to actually implement the knowledge, the things that we learn, for it to take form and actually benefit us. And here is a short poem in this chapter to end it off. To every man there openeth a way, and the high soul climbs the highway. and the low soul gropes the low. And between, on the misty flats, the rest drift to and fro. But to every man there openeth a highway and a low, and every man decideth the way his soul shall go. So that exemplifies the choice that we have with our thoughts, what to think and what to bring about. And that is a wonderful way to end off this chapter. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time, and hopefully progressing forward along this journey of the Master Key System and learning and implementing our takeaways from this chapter. So take care until next time.